I believe there were 71 free throws shot between the two teams, and we had 4 players sitting on the bench with 2 fouls apiece to end that first half, and that's when Auburn increased their lead. In hindsight, I probably looking back at it, I probably should have played at least 1 or 2 of those guys with the 2 fouls. But in hindsight, too, you can look at it. If guys would have fouled out, I would have been kicking myself for playing a guy with 2 fouls in the first half. I think Chicken still did foul out in that situation, and one other guy did. But we're fouling too much in those situations. And I thought in the first half they had 26 points off of our turnovers. We had 16 turnovers, and I thought we were able to fight ourselves back into it in the second half because we didn't turn the basketball over. I think they had 4 points off of turnovers in the second half. We only had 5 turnovers. So, obviously with our lack of depth, that's a problem.
How frustrating was it, I guess, you're trying to get back in that game and you can't get a constant flow because of the foul calls? I mean, it was like 70 free throws on each side. Like, how frustrating is that?
It wasn't as frustrating because I thought it was both ways. If it was a situation where it was a one way, then I think that becomes frustrating. But I think they were just, I think it was both ways. So it was just a lot of fouls called.
I know you mentioned it a lot, but just the improvement that Travante's made from the start of last year to now.
Yeah, it's really a credit to him because I think he's made as much improvement on our team than anybody. I thought last year he had the ability to get into the lane at times, but his decision-making left a lot to be desired. But I think right now he's getting into the lane and he's jump-stopping and he's getting fouled and he's making good decisions. So, I thought he played a really good game against Auburn. And more so than anything, when he got to the free throw line, he made his free throws. I believe it was 14 to 15 from the free throw line.
When you look at LSU, obviously Johnny O'Brien sticks out to you.
Yeah, well, just their size and length in general. They have a lot of guys with Mickey and Johnny O'Brien and number 12, I forget his name, McDonald's All-American, that have a lot of length and size to them. And they're playing a lot of zone, which is surprising. I thought they'd be more of a man-to-man team, but I think they're playing big with Jarrell Martin and Siobhan Coleman now playing a 2-spot. Siobhan Coleman played a lot of 4, last year. So we got to do a good job of keeping the ball out of the post because I think once they get the ball in the post, it becomes a problem because they got some guys who can shoot the ball too with Stringer and Hickey. So I think the most important thing for us is not letting them get the ball in the post because once they get in the post, we're either going to foul them or they're going to fan it out, and that's going to be a problem for our closeouts or get killed on the offensive glass.
From an endurance standpoint, kind of compare where Gavin is this year compared to where he was last year.
He's a little better. I still think that, at times he gets winded, and I don't know if it's more so of a fatigue factor, if he still needs to lose a couple more pounds, or, mentally he can get fatigued too because he's the only true post guy, and we're asking him to do a lot, both offensively and defensively from that spot too. So I think he's done a better job, but he's still got to take that next step of being a guy who plays hard all the time.
Rick, with the new emphasis this year, have you gotten a sense of how games are getting called, especially on the perimeter?
No, I have no sense at all. And this is like, I don't think this will get me in trouble, but I think there's a lot more called on the perimeter than it is on the post. I think there's a lot more contact at the rim that doesn't get called than it is on the perimeter.
When they and it seemed like the 3 words they used were freedom of movement, and it doesn't seem like it seems like guys are still bumping cutters. That doesn't seem like that was taken away at all either.
I think there's freedom of movement on the perimeter when a guy has the ball. I think they're calling that, but when a guy doesn't have the ball or when there's contact at the rim, I don't think that's being called as much. That's just my observation.
I know Bear's kind of been a bonus guy for you guys this year, but how much does it hurt just not have him the last couple of games just to get a couple minutes from him?
Well, I think it hurts in his development just because he hasn't been around. Bear's biggest detriment right now is not because of his ability. It's just simply he doesn't know what's going on. And anytime he's away from the team, that's taken away from his opportunity to learn about what's going on. So I think that's more so the thing that hurts him more than anything is him not being around, not more so for those couple minutes a game, but more so like now he's not around trying to get development and know what's going on.
Do you expect him to make the trip Wednesday?
I don't know for sure yet.
I know it's a long time away and things have changed, but with Bear playing both sports, does that kind of give you and Dan kind of a blueprint for Elijah, or is that something to be worked out later?
Well, from the football standpoint, I would imagine it's a lot different between Bear and Elijah, simply because Elijah is going to be playing the quarterback position. So I think that's a whole different beast. I would think at that quarterback position, you better be worried about how to read a blitz against Alabama and LSU. It's a little bit more involved than his actual development and knowing what's going on with the offense and what Bear has to do. So that would be more of a question for Dan than myself. But from our standpoint, it doesn't change much because both of those guys are pretty much the same position, kind of a skilled forward. But from the football standpoint of things, I imagine it'd be quite a bit of difference.
You got to see a little bit of the future down at IMG. Talk about what you were able to see with Oliver and how different he looked this time around.
Well, first of all, when you're in a situation at IMG, you get so much more player development because that's what they're all about. So you can tell the skill development that's going on there at IMG with him. He's a bigger, stronger kid, but I think what he does better than anybody on our team right now or anybody coming in, he chases the ball. And that's something we sorely need. We need a guy who can go get some loose balls, go get some offensive rebounds, get some defensive rebounds, and it really affects the game as far as his ability to go get balls. And the other thing he really does, he affects people's shots. You know, I think in the first 7 minutes of the ball game, he had 8 rebounds and he had 3 blocked shots. And so we just need somebody out there with that body, with that length, that can do a whole bunch of different things as far as affecting the game. So he's still got skill development to do on the offensive end, but I think any big man coming into any college program, you know, has skill development to do offensively. But the thing I'm most impressed about, the thing I came away excited about, is the way he's going to help us defend and rebound.
Has he improved dramatically, then, would you say?
I think so. I think he's improved dramatically just from the first time I saw him as a junior all the way up until the point I've seen him right now. I thought when I first saw him, he was a guy who played hard but really didn't have the size and strength to play the post position at this level. I thought he was a kind of a 3-man's body but had the 4-man skills. And I think right now what he's developed into, he's a bigger, stronger kid, but more importantly, he's learned how to play basketball. And so with his development and learning how to play basketball, he's become a better basketball player, but he still has all of that innate ability to go get the ball.
Rick, with the calls being made out on the perimeter, and I know that a lot of teams are playing zone on you because of your shooting struggles, but do you feel like nationally that's why a lot of guys are playing zone, just because they don't want to pick up fouls? It's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. I think people are playing us zone because if you look at our stats, I mean, we shoot so many free throws when people play us man compared to when they play us zone. But I think if you look at the national level, and I talk, obviously we got a lot of coaches that I talk to that's my friends, and they've seen more zone than they've ever seen in the past, and more people are doing it. So I think if you look at the SEC, I don't think LSU played zone last year. I know Zoe at Tennessee never played zone. He's playing some zone. I think everybody's playing zone in some way, shape, or form because they're scared of that foul situation.
Rick, when you look at, I guess, as IJ too, but that kind of a national story, the NBA thinking about doing a 20-year-old rule. How are your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I think it should be very similar to baseball and football. I think that you should, football is different. I think it should be like baseball. I think you should have the ability to come out if you don't want to go to college, you want to go straight to the NBA. I think once you make that decision to go to college, you should have to be at college for 2 years. I think 3 years is a little bit of a stretch because I think there is a difference between the maturity factor and what you have to do physically between football and basketball. But I think it would solve a lot of problems if you just allow guys that want to go to the NBA simply to let them go to the NBA, and guys that really want to go to college, let them go to college. But once they get to college, you have to be there for 2 years. But I think what you're seeing is, Michael, a lot of guys that were projected to be lottery picks going into college. Then once they go to college, they're not lottery picks all of a sudden. And I was listening to an interview with Sean Marion, I think about a couple of weeks ago, and he said it's really sad what they have to teach at the NBA level because these high school kids and college kids are coming in and they simply haven't been coached before. And so now you're teaching really elementary things at NBA level is elementary, but for these high school kid or the college kid, it's not elementary anymore. And he said they're wasting a lot of time in practice trying to teach these guys some simple things.
How much would it affect